What happens when an unstoppable force meets an unstoppable force?
Welcome to Sooner Stats, your home for Oklahoma Sooners coverage.
While the Big 12 Conference was characterized throughout the early 21st century by a high-octane air raid philosophy, the specific encounter between future NFL MVP Patrick Mahomes and Baker Mayfield bypassed the standard parameters of a regional shootout, evolving instead into a foundational case study for modern offensive architecture.
The psychological underpinnings of the contest were rooted in the return of Baker Mayfield to Lubbock. Mayfield had previously served as the first true freshman walk-on to start a season opener for the Red Raiders in 2013 under then first-year head coach Kliff Kingsbury. Following a perceived scholarship dispute and a subsequent transfer to the University of Oklahoma, Mayfield became a figure of significant controversy within the Texas Tech community. The atmosphere in Lubbock for this 2016 meeting was described as uniquely hostile. The student section famously donned black t-shirts featuring the state of Oklahoma in red with the word Traitor printed above it. On-field acoustics were dominated by synchronized chants directed at Mayfield, an environment that the quarterback later characterized as electric and reminiscent of a professional wrestling atmosphere. Conversely, Patrick Mahomes II entered the contest as the established centerpiece of the Red Raiders' offensive identity. His physical condition during the game, however, was compromised by a sprained throwing shoulder sustained 2 weeks prior and a fractured left wrist suffered during the early stages of the first half. The ability of Mahomes to maintain a high-volume output, eventually totaling 100 offensive touches, despite these musculoskeletal constraints, is central to the qualitative assessment of his performance.
The most statistically improbable aspect of the contest was the eventual parity in total yardage. Despite the contrasting styles of the two programs and the differing volume of their respective plays, both Oklahoma and Texas Tech finished the game with exactly 854 yards of total offense. This equilibrium masked the underlying divergence in offensive efficiency. Oklahoma achieved its yardage on 76 plays, while Texas Tech required 109 plays to reach the same total.
The data indicates that while Texas Tech controlled the temporal aspect of the game and achieved a superior third down conversion rate of 80%, Oklahoma's success was predicated on extreme explosiveness. The Sooners averaged 11.2 yards per play, a metric that reflects a near-total breakdown of the Texas Tech defensive structure. Patrick Mahomes' performance in the 2016 shootout is often cited by NFL personnel as the turning point in his professional evaluation. Mahomes set an FBS record for total offense in a single game with 819 yards and tied the record for single-game passing yards with 734. The volume of Mahomes' activity was unprecedented for a collegiate starter. He attempted 88 passes, completing 52, which set a Big 12 conference record for completions. His rushing contributions were equally vital. He led Texas Tech with 85 yards on 12 carries, scoring 2 rushing touchdowns. This high-volume strategy was necessitated by a Texas Tech defense that surrendered 66 points, forcing Mahomes to participate in 100 of the team's 109 offensive snaps. The physical toll of this volume was exacerbated by the fractured left wrist. Coaches noted that while the injury was to his non-throwing hand, it limited his ability to brace for impact and affected his balance when navigating a collapsing pocket. Despite this, his ability to execute the air raid system while integrating off-script improvisations was the primary factor in Texas Tech converting 20 out of 25 third down attempts.
While Mahomes was characterized by volume, Baker Mayfield's performance was defined by elite efficiency. Mayfield completed 27 of 36 attempts for 545 yards, resulting in an average of 15 yards per attempt and a staggering 20.2 yards per completion. His 7 touchdown passes established a new Oklahoma school record, surpassing the previous mark of 6 held by Landry Jones.
Mayfield's passer rating reflects one of the most efficient single-game performances against a Power 5 opponent in the modern era. Mayfield's ability to exploit the Texas Tech defensive secondary was facilitated by the presence of Dede Westbrook and Joe Mixon, who repeatedly found separation in the vertical seams of the defense. The 2016 contest marked the first time in the history of college football that a single team produced a 500-yard passer, a 200-yard rusher, and a 200-yard receiver in the same game. This milestone underscores the catastrophic failure of the Texas Tech defensive unit and the elite execution of the Oklahoma skill players.
Joe Mixon served as the primary engine for Oklahoma's yard per play dominance. Mixon recorded 31 carries for 263 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, while adding 4 receptions for 114 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. He became the first player in Oklahoma history to achieve 200 yards rushing and 100 yards receiving in a single game.
Mixon's scoring profile was exceptionally vertical for a running back. His receiving touchdowns included a 56-yarder in the first quarter and a 43-yarder in the third quarter. His 42-yard rushing touchdown in the fourth quarter was critical in maintaining a 2-score lead during the Red Raiders' late-game surge. Wide receiver Dede Westbrook caught 9 passes for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. Westbrook's performance in Lubbock was a key component of a season that saw him named as a Heisman Trophy finalist. His primary role was to stretch the Texas Tech defense, exemplified by his 49-yard touchdown reception in the first quarter and a 23-yard touchdown in the third. For the Red Raiders, the offensive output was distributed more broadly among a high-volume receiving corps. KK Kuti led the team with 172 yards on 10 receptions, while Jonathan Giles added 167 yards and 2 touchdowns on 10 catches. Cameron Batson also approached the century mark with 99 yards and a touchdown on 9 receptions.
The game's progression was characterized by an initial Oklahoma surge, a mid-game stabilization, and a final quarter that reached a state of statistical hyperdrive.
Oklahoma established an immediate vertical tempo. Starting at their own 25-yard line, the Sooners required only 1 minute and 37 seconds to score the opening touchdown via a 56-yard pass from Mayfield to Mixon. Following a missed extra point, Oklahoma led 6-0. The Red Raiders' opening drive was terminated by a Jonathan Giles fumble at midfield, which was recovered by Oklahoma's Jordan Evans. Oklahoma capitalized in 44 seconds with a 49-yard touchdown pass to Westbrook, extending the lead to 13-0. Texas Tech responded with a 12-play, 84-yard drive culminating in a 4-yard run by DeLeon Ward. After an Oklahoma punt, one of only 2 in the game for the Sooners, Texas Tech moved to the Oklahoma 20-yard line, but settled for a 37-yard field goal by Clayton Hatfield. The quarter ended with Oklahoma holding a 13-10 lead. The second quarter featured the game's longest drive in terms of duration, a 14-play, 425 possession by Texas Tech that ended with an 11-yard touchdown run by Mahomes. This drive allowed the Red Raiders to maintain contact with Oklahoma, who had scored earlier in the quarter on a 46-yard run by Mixon. The final minutes of the half were defined by rapid scoring. With 37 seconds remaining, Mahomes connected with Giles for a 23-yard touchdown, giving Texas Tech a 24-23 lead, their only lead of the evening. Oklahoma regained the advantage in just 20 seconds, scoring on a 23-yard pass to Nick Basquine to enter the half leading 30-24.
Following a Texas Tech 3-and-out to open the third quarter, the teams engaged in a historic scoring sequence. Every offensive drive for the remainder of the game, excluding Oklahoma's final victory formation, resulted in a touchdown.
The third quarter alone saw 5 touchdowns, all of which originated from plays of 20 yards or more. Oklahoma entered the fourth quarter with a 51-38 lead. The final frame was the most productive of the game, generating 400 total yards and 36 points. Texas Tech's effort to close the gap was led by Mahomes, who scored on a 22-yard run and later found Kuti for a 56-yard touchdown. Oklahoma's response was consistently delivered by Mixon, whose 42-yard touchdown run with 5 minutes and 3 seconds remaining effectively neutralized the Red Raiders' comeback attempt.
The aggregate statistical profile suggests a total abandonment of defensive integrity. The two teams combined for 1,708 yards, yet there were only 2 turnovers and 2 punts forced by the Texas Tech defense, while Oklahoma forced only 3 punts.
Detailed defensive statistics for the contest are largely absent from standard box scores, reflecting the lack of impact plays. Texas Tech failed to record a single sack on Mayfield, despite the quarterback dropping back 36 times. Oklahoma's defense, while under immense pressure from Mahomes' 88 attempts, managed only 1 sack for a 2-yard loss. The failure of the Oklahoma defense was specifically attributed to missed tackles, a sentiment echoed by defensive coordinator Mike Stoops. A critical anomaly in the data is Texas Tech's performance on third down. The Red Raiders converted 20 of 25 attempts, 80%, a rate that is statistically unsustainable across a larger sample size. This high conversion rate allowed Texas Tech to maintain a slight advantage in time of possession and total plays, 109, yet it was insufficient to overcome Oklahoma's superior per-play efficiency.
The 2016 showdown was as much a battle of coaching philosophies as it was individual players. Kliff Kingsbury's Texas Tech offense utilized the air raid in its most pure form, relying on high volume, rapid tempo, and spatial isolation. Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma offense, while sharing some air raid lineage, integrated a more robust rushing attack and a sophisticated play-action system.
Kingsbury's system put exceptional stress on the defense in two areas, spatial and mental. By forcing defenders to cover large areas of open grass, Texas Tech created lanes for Mahomes to exploit through both his arm and his legs. Mahomes' background in multiple sports allowed him to make his own space, effectively thwarting defensive coordinators' attempts to limit his options. Conversely, Riley's system maximized the individual talent of Mixon and Westbrook. The ability of the Oklahoma offense to score on every second-half possession was a testament to Riley's sequencing and the ability of Mayfield to identify and exploit the weakest point of the Texas Tech defense, which was often the perimeter tackling in space.
The historical significance of the contest extends beyond the collegiate record book. The performance of Mahomes and Mayfield served as a catalyst for their respective trajectories, toward being selected for the first overall pick and the 10th overall pick in the NFL draft.
For Patrick Mahomes, the 734-yard passing performance served as his coming-out party for a national audience. Before this game, Mahomes was often labeled as an air raid quarterback with mechanical flaws. The ability to produce 819 yards of offense while playing with a fractured wrist, however, demonstrated a level of toughness and competitive intensity that appealed to NFL scouts, including the Kansas City Chiefs' Brett Veach. For Baker Mayfield, the game solidified his status as a Heisman-caliber leader. His performance against his former team under intense pressure was seen as a marker of his psychological resilience. Both players would go on to face each other multiple times, with their 2016 college meeting serving as the definitive prologue to their professional rivalry.
The following records were established during the game and continue to serve as the benchmark for offensive production in FBS football. The 1,708 yards of combined offense represents a distance of 0.97 miles. The precision of the 854-yard equilibrium between the two teams remains one of the most remarkable statistical coincidences in the history of the sport.
The contest on October 22, 2016 stands as the ultimate expression of the air raid era in the Big 12 Conference. It was a perfect convergence of elite quarterback talent, offensive-minded coaching, and defensive personnel that were conceptually and physically overmatched. While critics may dismiss the 66-59 scoreline as a product of optional defense, the statistical analysis reveals a level of execution and precision that would have been effective against nearly any collegiate opponent.
The legacy of the game is most accurately found in the careers of Mahomes and Mayfield. Their performance in Lubbock was not merely a high-scoring anomaly. It was a demonstration of the evolutionary shift toward the modern, quarterback-centric offensive systems that now dominate both the collegiate and professional levels. The 2016 shootout remains the definitive document of a night when, as Mayfield later recalled, the atmosphere was electric and the offenses were unstoppable.